YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage back on Total War Rome 2. Wow, yeah. And I'm guessing a lot of you are excited because a lot of you like this. I'm excited to bring you some more. This is another submission from Trolley Bully's Use It, Lose It 2 tournament, which is a huge tournament. I'll have links to it in the description. Feel free to check it out. I'm excited. Hope he keeps sending me some great matches from this. The last one we watched was, again, like it's probably in the top 5 most awesome replays I think I've ever seen. And this one we're going to have Massilia versus Parthia. Let me look at the rules for that. So for Massilia, it's going to be max 6 of the same unit, max 8 melee infantry, and that's sword, axes, falcons, including a general, max 8 cav, and that includes missile cav, which have their own separate max of 4, max of 14 melee infantry in total, including spears, pikes, swords, all that other kind of stuff. So for Eastern factions, like this would be Parthia, max 6 of the same, max 7 melee infantry, so a little bit more available, or actually a little bit less available to Parthia. Interesting. Wow, yeah, cap to less, so I guess they're being tried to push to play to more cavalry because they have a max of 12 cav instead of 8, and then they have a max of 5 missile cav instead of 4. So very interesting, very interesting. But Parthia is still able to bring a max of 14 infantry, it just can't, it's less melee infantry, so that's obviously pushing Parthia to play more of a skirmishy type role. Massilia, with their Massilian hoplites and plenty of skirmishing options, could be a nice potential counter, depending on how they're picked. I see 6 Massilian hoplites, a couple levy free, a couple axe, 3 swords, some slingers, decent number of cavalry, including Tarentine, 2 Tarentine cav. Looks like there's a Hippeus Lancer there too. Very interesting choice. 2 Massilians. The Parthian player 4 horse archers, 4 noble blood, 4 eastern slingers, 3 hoplites, 1 sword, 2 eastern spears, and then a couple of cataphracts. So plenty of cavalry from Parthia, but their infantry is significantly outmatched by Massilia. However, their skirmishing component significantly outmatches Massilia. So we'll see how this plays out. Should be an interesting one. It is a 20-minute replay. Let's fast forward to a bit of action. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy this matchup. This should be nice. Let's see. So the horse archers hitting the flanks. Slingers holding down the center as expected. The horse archers just want to be patient and kind of let the eastern slingers get to do their thing. The Massilian player very well could try to rush since they are... Ooh, now look at this here. This is going to have to be something to be aware of. The noble horse archer is a fantastic unit. Tarentine cavalry is just a little bit faster. The noble horse archer needs to stay out in front there and not give up any kills to the Tarentine cavalry. Against standard horse archers, the Tarentines are never really going to be able to get close enough. If the horse archers are microed properly, they should do very nice damage, but they will be a nuisance. They will help hold the horse archers back. The problem here is you're talking 2 slingers to fend off 4 eastern slingers and 4 horse archers, which they are just going to be totally incapable of doing. So I'm pretty sure that if the Massilian player just kind of locks it down in defense here, they're going to get picked apart. And so I would think that if anything, they are going to want to push, because the Parthian center is weak and squishy. I mean, they do have to be careful. There's a lot of good cavalry out here. There's 2 cataphracts guarding the center, but still, sitting back and shooting it out in a missile fight where you're outnumbered significantly is probably not going to end well. No kills for the Tarentine cavalry, and they are being pushed back as expected by the horse archers, just a temporary distraction. And as the slingers move up, they're going to be able to start to dish the damage. The slingers have a lot of options to choose from in terms of targets, and looks like they may target the Celtic slingers. We're going to see Massilia start to push. This is expected. I mean, that's what else can they do? They don't want to sit back and just get hammered by 4 slingers until they waste all their ammo, I'm sure. But at the same time, as they push forward, the Parthian is going to kite the center back, and I like how they're doing it early so they don't get bogged down. And then they continue to force the encirclement. So as Massilia, if we go to a high level, as Massilia pushes forward, Parthia is going to close in on the flanks just like this, so you're seeing the complete encirclement come about, and this is exactly what Parthia needs to do. They need to get singled out pockets, so get a couple of units to engage, single them out like this with the horse archers, and then destroy them with the follow-up unit. So Parthia is going to have to play nice and patient and make sure that they use their ammo, because that's going to be one of their strengths. There is a horse unit trying to push through the center here. It's really caught up on its own men. No, okay, it's not trying to push through there, never mind. I was wondering if it was going to try and make a push on the slingers. They are guarded by cataphracts and hoplites. Yep, so you can see the heavy melee cavalry going to be able to circle around behind here too. Parthia definitely falling back like they should be. We've got missile fire coming in. It's hitting some of the Celtic warriors. The slingers are going to just want to get any work done they can, and the Massilian now is just in a full-blown charge. And this is, like I said, this is expected. The Massilian player sitting back is just going to get absolutely throttled in melee. Let's see whether or not the Parthian can fall back. They're a lot closer now, and if the cavalry makes a push to try and tie down these units, they might be able to force the cataphracts to engage. And the terms may not be real favorable if the cataphracts are having to charge through their own men. Complete encirclement now, though. So you got cavalry pretty much all over the Massilians. These guys are going to be able to come up. Parthians leading the Massilian back. Plenty of room to the red line. So plenty of room to fall back. Here comes the cataphracts. They're going to make a hit and run charge here. Let's see if they take javelins. Ooh, no attack order from the from the Celtic warriors, so they get absolutely throttled. And they're going to be able to retreat the cataphracts with few or any no losses here. So very nice there by getting rid of the Celtic warriors. 90 kills on the cataphracts. And then similar over here. Now the Massilian cavalry is going to charge in, but it's going to be bogged down by the mercenary hoplites. Cataphracts will get away somewhat clean here. Wasn't near as clean, but 70 kills for about 10 losses. So the opening engagement here, definitely okay-ish for the Parthian, but there's a lot of work to be done. The Eastern cataphracts here are re-engaged. They need to get out of this fight. And then the heavy cavalry is going to want to try and make its way in to dish some damage. There are levy freemen guarding, though. If the levy freemen could be tied down with the Eastern spears, that would be a huge win here. Same thing here. Not sure why we're not tying down these levy free or a rear charge, but no, they're going to want to get away from the skirmishers. Never mind. Hippeus Lancers being held in reserve, but a ton of missile fire coming in here to the Tarentines, who are now going to be pushed back by Celtic slingers. Let's see what happens. So the infantry fight's going to swing against Parthia, and it's going to do so relatively quick. There's one more Eastern spear back here. The Eastern slingers are firing away and actually doing some decent damage versus the Massilian cavalry here. Still got 51 cataphracts there and 45 here. Both a pretty significant number of kills, but against cheap units, but still very nicely done. Levy Freeman here being MLG and pushing the Noble Blood Cavalry back. Still not sure why this hoplite isn't engaging. Would have liked to have seen it come in on this flank. But, you know, we'll see what happens. I'm not the tournament player. Okay, cataphracts are going to need to come support here. We've got Eastern Slingers in pretty big trouble. Okay, a Noble Blood Cab being brought that direction. Losing that Slinger, though, is going to be huge because it still has all of its men and a ton of ammo. So, huge loss for the Parthian there. Noble Blood Cavalry got into the Slingers back here, but they are being bogged down and just completely overrun by a superior number of units, so that's going to be a loss of a Noble Blood Cavalry. And Massilian hoplites here are going to absolutely slaughter the Noble Blood Cavalry, who then gets pinned by a Levy Freeman. This is extremely bad for Parthia right there. Not sure how they're going to work their way out of that one. Eastern Cataphract charges the Massilian hoplites and maybe some of these swordsmen. Does a little bit of damage, pulls out, 116 kills over here, slaughtering a Massilian cavalry. Looks like the cataphracts are gonna, be able to get away from the... Okay, the Massilian cavalry over here is caught. Saved most of the slingers, fortunately for the Parthian, but unfortunately for the Parthian here, losing the Noble Blood Cavalry in this fight. Absolutely painful. But, I mean, there's still some fight left in Parthia here. The Massilians still have a Hippeus Lancer, but are somewhat limited in cavalry options at this point, which means the Parthians should be able to kind of run amok. Massilian hoplites are not able to get braced. They're going to get absolutely flattened by the Cataphract here, who picks up a ton of kills. So already 140 kills. Now this is dangerous, though. Axe warriors can come and throw their javelins. So the Cataphracts are going to want to get away from this fight. The number of precursor javelins in the final state of Rome 2 was far too many. Way too many. If they would have decreased the number of units that had precursor javelins in the late game of Rome 2, I think that the game would have been very near to being even more balanced than it was. Now with the right rule sets, this game can become fairly balanced, but it is definitely imbalanced in terms of precursor javelins make it far, far easier to destroy cavalry and elephants than it is to use them. Now I would say that there are some units out there like the Scythe Chariot that the javelins definitely helped, but the Chariot was just never properly, balanced in and of itself. So giving every other unit an absurd number of javelins for very low cost wasn't really the right fix, in my opinion. That's just one of the things that I think could have made Rome 2 better in the late game. But don't get me wrong, it's not bad. It was really a fantastic game in the later state of it. But at the same time, like I said, it was unfortunate to see little things like that not cleaned up. These Eastern Cataphracts are just fighting to the death here. There is a Hippeus Lancer, so they really can't flee. The Lancer's going to leave because there's an inbound Noble Blood Cavalry. He gets a nice charge on the Noble Blood Cav, who's being chased by an MLG Freeman, who is also being shot by Parthian Horse Archers. If the Massilian Cavalry is destroyed, this could become a pretty close fight because there's so many missiles remaining for the Parthian, and there is a heavy cavalry, still a very heavy cavalry here in the form of the Noble Blood Cav, or the Noble Horse Archer. And there's a few Eastern Cataphracts left with 203 kills. Pretty spectacular. The Noble Blood Cav was not able to finish the Hippeus Lancers. This is going to be painful. These slingers definitely need to be alive for Parthia. And they are going to get hit. The Noble Horse Archers here are going to have to help finish these guys off. They're not going to want to get into melee, though. It's going to be... Yeah, okay, there they go. So the slingers are going to survive with most of their men. Horse Archers roaming around, but there's still a Celtic Slinger left, which is most unfortunate for Parthia at this point, because they can't just park at close range with heavy shot and unload. The Massilian back here chasing. He's getting driven back, but I mean, this is actually going to turn out to be a pretty close fight from what I'm seeing here. The Massilians will do well versus the mercenary Hoplites, and this Lancer has no prayer of catching these Horse Archers. It definitely should just be charging the Slingers. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, he could have charged the Slingers, and I mean, it would have gotten killed by the Horse Archers, but getting the Slingers off the field might have been a big win, because it's just going to get shot to death otherwise, I think. Yeah, Massilian Hoplites being overloaded here. The retreating swordsmen are going to get absolutely destroyed by this Cataphract charge. It wasn't the world's greatest charge because they're tired, but it's going to get the job done. It's going to rack their kills up even higher. 222. Very nice use of the Eastern Cataphracts. Let's check out the kills on the Horse Archers. It was 53 here, 104 here. 76 kills on these Horse Archers. Eastern Slingers probably still have a good amount of ammo left. They've been doing quite a bit of firing. Ooh, a Horse Archer here being sacrificed. Maybe it was out of ammo? Yeah, both the Horse Archers being sacrificed. I have to assume that they were out of ammo. They charged the Celtic Slingers, trying to take them off the field. If they were run in before they were out of ammo, though, that was a definite mistake on the case of the Parthian. But with the number of kills they have, they very well could have expended their ammo. I have to assume that the Parthian wouldn't do that. Now, a rally, or a raise the banner here being used, probably trying to bring the Celtic Slingers back. But if this Noble Blood Cavalry, which I didn't know this was still alive, this is going to be key. It's 60 out of 60 men. That Noble Blood Cavalry, if it can mop up those Slingers, the Massilians are going to be in a world of pain. Because there's 4 Eastern Slingers who have pretty decent armor piercing, relatively low attack, but pretty decent armor piercing for a missile unit. And they're going to cause significant damage. And basically, all that the Parthian has to hope to do is damage the Hoplites enough to where in the late game, the heavy cavalry like the Noble Horse Archers and the Noble Blood Cavalry can finish them off. I don't know what's going on with my cursor. There it goes. My cursor had turned back into like a standard one. Alright, so the Slingers are off for Massilia. So now Massilia just gets to sit here and eat all the remaining ammo. The Parthians are going to wrap it up with a nice bow and sling it their way. And they are targeting the back of the exposed Hoplites. So very nicely done there to be patient as the Parthians and to do your best. Hippeus Lancers are like, screw this, we're going down in a blaze of glory. Or not. So Cataphracts were hoping for some more juicy meat, but they're not going to get it. Let's see if these guys have their daggers out. Now, they still have their arrows out. So the Massilian player is going to push. The Hippeus Lancer is the only remaining mobility. A little bit of targeted fire from some Slinger units will finish it off. The Hippeus Lancer is going to go ahead and take the charge. No, it's going to feint. Okay. Cataphracts are winded. If they can keep resting, that's going to do them well. You got an active Noble Blood Cavalry here again. If they can just rest, it would do well for them. Mercenary Sarmatian Horse Archer out here too. Must have ammo because it's being held back from the fight. I'm assuming that they're going to want to use the Slingers to their full effect against the infantry and then save the Horse Archers and they're heavy shot potentially for the late game. And if you save them for key targets, you can hit them at point-blank range. The cataphracts will be able to cause significant damage. The infantry spreading out into thin lines, which will save them from missile fire, and it's going to make them extraordinarily vulnerable to heavy cavalry, though. There's multiple units of heavy cavalry. Slingers are going to keep picking away at the Massilian hoplites from behind. The Hippeus Lancer trying desperately to get to Slingers. It's going to be hit by a Noble Horse Archer who uses Battle Rhythm. That should help them get rid of the Lancers and then easily withdraw themselves from this fight. They'll take a little bit of hit point damage here from the charging spears. They need to really get out of there. Yep, there they go. Alright, should minimize the damage to the Noble Horse Archers. Nicely done. So, no more mobility for the Massilians. They can either chase or sit back and eat it. And looks like they're going to be doing a fair bit of sitting back and eating it. This is always a frustrating position if you're playing against Parthia, is knowing that you've lost your mobility and then just having to try your best to maintain your resolve, to not give up and to not do anything foolish, and just try and hope to hold out for a final finish here. The Slingers being chased by Levy Freeman, who are at extreme risk from the cataphracts, so they turn around. These guys may be MLG, but they're not that MLG. This isn't Shogun 2. Let's see. So yeah, the damage is starting to mount. 65 kills for these Eastern Slingers, 97 for those, 100 here, and 82 here. Got one experience chevron on on 3 of them. So the Slingers are definitely taking their toll. 5 minutes left in the battle. Let's fast forward a bit just to kind of see what happens. The Massilian players kind of resolved to their fate. I think at this point it would definitely be a victory for the Parthian if they could cycle charge, but you definitely want to get rid of as many of these Massilian hoplites as possible. There's still quite a few left. These guys are heavily armored, well shielded, and they have a bonus versus large, so I wouldn't just assume that you can charge in and finish these guys off until, like I said, you've spent every last bit of remaining ammunition. And see how the Parthian here is trying to lure these units out and charge them one by one. That's definitely the way you want to go, fixing them with slingers from one side and then bringing cavalry in. So Horse Archer being used as a disruptive charge here, gets rid of a Levy Freeman. Follow-up charges being threatened here. So again, just trying to break up the formation to give your heavy cavalry the best chance, and the Massilian player has to do their best to just kind of hold their resolve and fight. And the Parthian's going to have to do their best to be extremely disruptive. So the Cataphracts getting a nice charge, definitely want to retreat themselves and cycle in for another. They are starting to take losses. Definitely would have been good, I think, to hit them with the Slingers immediately following that charge so that it would have tied those guys down. But still, very nice use of these Cataphracts, 281 kills. Cycle charges, but we do have a Hoplite Phalanx, raise the banner, rally. So Massilia is not finished yet. Not by a long shot. Like I said, the armor and the defense these guys are capable of is going to start to show itself here in the late game, and Parthia definitely has not won this yet. And the Hoplite Phalanx also protects them from charges. It's going to give them an extra bracing bonus, so I can see why the Massilian player wants to be in that Hoplite Phalanx. Parthia trying desperately to charge and to cause as much morale disruption as possible. If they can start routing a few of the Massilian Hoplites, it'll be good. Noble Horse Archers dropping very rapidly right there because they tried to charge through a braced Massilian Hoplite that was in Phalanx, so they lost a huge number of their men. Noble Blood Cavalry here, 121 kills, only a couple losses. The Cataphracts here are going to take some pretty significant damage pulling away from this. So they are down to 9 and wavering. So it's looking kind of rough here for Parthia now that they're out of ammo, and Massilia just has to try and ride this out. Not a great charge there from the Noble Blood Cavalry. They're still engaged with infantry over here. The Hoplite Phalanx is kind of messed up. Nice rear charge incoming here, though, from the Noble Horse Archers. Slight morale issue there for the Massilian general, but it looks like it's going to sort itself out. We've got a wavering Massilian Hoplite here. If they can get that off the field, that'd be great. 2 of them are wavering. And then a red morale on the general. Why is he red? Shaken, attacked in the rear. Noble Blood Cavalry throwing down a charge over here. If the Parthian can keep cycling in and out of this, bring these slingers back in to help tie something down, it is going to be quite close. There's more slingers here that could just be thrown in. But it looks like the Massilian resolve is going to dissolve here because the power bar is swinging against him. So not quite as close as the last one, but still going to be a very tight finish. The Parthian here made a few mistakes, but overall well played. They kind of stuck to the battle plan there, didn't give in at the beginning and get engaged too early. Falling back like that kind of helped give them the engagements they need. You've got to get an army to break up. You have to be able to use your ammunition. So all in all, you know, other than a charge here or there, nice job protecting the slingers. It was a great job by the Parthian player because they were alive to the late game. They got the number of kills that they needed. The infantry engagements that the Parthian took were softened up first by the cataphracts, which, you know, as you can see, did significant damage. The horse archers all did good damage, and the noble horse archers did good damage. For the Massilian, you can see the hoplites here. Definitely the why you had to be afraid of them. I thought it was a nice job, though, for the most part of the Parthian with dealing with all these squishier units here, and also dealing with the Massilian cavalry. Most of these kills were on slingers here from the Hippeus Lancers, though they picked up a chevron, so they must have killed something with some value there also. Hope you all enjoyed this one. Thought it was a great match. Congratulations to Deve here for winning that one. Appreciate Trolley Bully for sending it in. Make sure to thank him in the comments and tell him if you want to see more of this. I know I do. Hopefully you'll send me some more because really enjoyed it. Thought it was some top quality gameplay. Hope the tournament's going well. HeirofCarthage signing out for now.